Debate 411 is proudly brought to you by Mount Kenya University School of Journalism. Success in journalism starts here. Enroll for Master of Arts in Communication and Mass Media, Bachelor of Arts in Mass Media and Communication, Diploma in Journalism. Take advantage of fees reduction and modularized programs in line with Rwanda National Qualification Framework. Call 0787 05 2363 or 0788 979113 or 0728 551199 or visit our website www.mku.ac.ke. Debate 411 is proudly brought to you by Mount Kenya University School of Journalism.
Right, thank you so much for making time to be on Debate 411, the very first of these editions on this very first day of the month of February 2016. How are you doing? I'm hoping that you're keeping tabs with your New Year resolutions because the year is also just moving so fast. Now, on the program today, we'll be talking about a key thing that we've also been mentioning a couple of times here and there, and it concerns you because we all are consumers. But the fact is that as a consumers, you have rights. As a consumers, those rights, you need to be aware of them. But also as a consumer, those rights need to be protected. So we're talking about the issue of consumer rights and protection of those rights right here on the program. The hashtag is, as usual, Debate 411. And of course, the handles are at Eugene Anangwe or at Debate 411. We'll be reading some of those comments right here on the program. We have a poll right there on the Debate 411 Twitter handle. Take part in it, and we'll be reading and sampling some of your comments on that particular poll. Now, let me introduce you to my panelists right here on the program. On my immediate right is none other than Dr. Mark Chubahiro, the Director General of the Rwanda Standards Board. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for having me on the program.
All right. Also for the, I don't know how many at the time, but of course not the first time on the program, is none other than Sandra Idosu, the publisher of the Service Mag. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me here.
Last minute, missing in action, we were expecting to have Robert Sali. I think we should welcome him, and maybe, just maybe, in the course of the program, he will be joining us. And of course, Robert Sali is a member of the Rwanda Consumers Rights Protection Organization, and he's in charge of advocacy. Just as we start this program, and with that introduction of the Missing in Action gentleman, there is a consumer rights protection organization. And I'm going to start with Sandra because through your magazine you've been writing, and some people have been referring to your magazine as sort of a place where they can express their frustrations or sometimes their joy when it comes to service delivery, and sometimes when it comes to consumption of issues. This institution that Robert Sali is a member of, do you feel the existence of it before we get even deeper in the conversation?
Eugene, I have to be very frank. I didn't know of this institution until last week. I've actually been asking and tweeting and asking people if we actually have in Rwanda this type of this association. I got to know about them last week, and that's why I was actually very interested in meeting them and hearing more about what they do, because for the last 6 years that I have been working here on customer service and talking about consumers' rights, I never saw anything that, probably they do things that I don't see or that I'm not aware of, but I didn't know. So I really don't know what.
So zero clue on that one.
I know nothing. I'm really ignorant about what, I didn't know they were
you
here.
didn't know that. Dr. Mark, I mean,
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
What a shame. Robert Sali, I know the gentleman, he's my friend, but I hadn't actually heard of the organization. But the one that I actually was aware of, which I expect to be here with us, is called ADECOL.
It is the one, actually.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Oh.
So Robert Sali now works for ADECOL.
If Robert Sali works for ADECOL, that one I know. It has been there for the past, at least I've known
From 2008?
Well, personally, I have known it since 2012-13, and it has been moving up and down around the country. But they have got a very good program. They have got a very good intentions, but I think they are resource stretched. If they could be empowered in terms of resources, I'm sure they could do a very good job in advocacy, if it's at their core. I know them because when they were revamping themselves about 3-4 years ago, they came to the Rwanda Standards Board. At that time it was the Rwanda Bureau of Standards, requesting for training of their members, and that's what we did. And they have invited me and my team many times to their meetings, to their organizations, and so I think they have got a good intentions.
So you feel they have good intentions, but they are
resource stretched.
What exactly do they do? Can I just ask?
Right. So I'm going to just, I was doing my research and part of, it was on the website, the ADECOR website, and part of their aim is this is according to the website, that they aim at disseminating consumers' rights and helping them to defend their rights. And they were established in 2008 as a non-profit organization. Their offices are located in, this is a quiz for you, do you know?
No.
Do you know? No, I don't.
All right. So this goes to say a lot.
Are they on social media?
Okay, website at least is a social media. But what I'm trying to say, or with what I'm leading at, is that as consumers, if they do not know where to run to, where or who to go to, when you have this kind of a brief bio of what you are made for, then what does that say? I mean,
in fact, we have somehow become the link between consumers and the service providers. For the last 6 years that we've been working, we've actually, because our aim is to educate and sensitize on everything that can improve the level of services. But again, when you want to improve on the level of services, it also gives opportunity for consumers to tell you the areas that need to be improved on. And that is actually how today we have become, I would say, the watchdog. Everyone tells us when they have poor services. But again, that's not what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to educate and sensitize people on service delivery. I'm happy to know that there is an association that protects consumers' rights, and I wish nowadays when people tag us, we would be able to redirect them
to the main person
because again, one of the difficulties we have is that people tell us, but we can take actions. We are just there to listen to them and probably link them up to their service providers, but we can't take actions. There's nothing we can do, So it's good to know.
When we were preparing this show, I mean, there's someone who asked on social media and asked, will there be a consumer on the panel? And my response was like, all of us are consumers.
Yes, absolutely.
You as a DG of Rwanda Standards Board, how does that make you feel as a consumer now? Not looking at your position or what you do on a day-to-day basis, but what does that make you feel, knowing that there is an organization that is tasked with that responsibility of protecting your rights, but you do not know much about it?
Actually, what I find exciting about my job, I really wanted to talk about consumer protection from my own perspective, from my own everyday occupation. What makes it interesting is that I'm a consumer as well. So are you. Remember when we go to the studio, the first thing I checked was the quality of this water, because I'm a consumer. But of course it makes me feel a little bit downcast when I find an organization which is supposed to be creating synergy with my own organization is not that strong. When we started working with them, we expect them actually to be an extra hand for us. But I could tell you what we are doing, and we think that creating a linkages with them probably could achieve greater mileage. So when you read on our website, you will find that in our mission statement, actually we say that we develop standards and other what we call conformity assessment services that are geared to protect the consumers and create economic development and so on. So there's a consumer protection, environment protection, but the consumer protection, we don't call it consumer protection. We call it fair trade. So because you are consumers, whatever we are using, we are probably exchanging through buying and selling. And so we make sure that what we're exchanging is a fair exchange. You get value for your money. And therefore we feel that consumers in that respect are actually covered.
But covered in a sense that there are those who don't really feel that this cover is quite enough to cover them wholly or in a full way, because we still have people who complain and say that, yes, you say the fair trade issue and the issue of value for money, but we still have people who still complain and say this price of this particular commodity or this service continues to go high, but in the same situation, I'm still paying for it, and I'm not getting the value for money. I mean,
let me say this, Eugene. Complaining is a positive thing, and complaining is actually many times a sign of awareness. People complain because they know what they expect. But when people are ignorant, actually they don't know what they expect, then they won't complain. So actually for me, complaining, I see it as a positive thing. I can tell you, about 6 years ago, in 2010, we had only one product that Rwanda made that was certified. Certification is a process that creates confidence in the consumer. But I had never had anyone complaining that these products are not certified. But the moment we put effort into certification, we have gotten over 300 products that are certified. Now we see people complaining. But when you say product that's not certified,
yes.
So complaining, to me, is actually a measure of awareness of the consumer rights.
But the fact that complaining is happening, but nothing is done, it's also another part of frustration, because Sandra, you've mentioned that as part of the things that you do, but you can only do that much. Complain on behalf of these people or get this feedback on behalf of these people, and it ends there.
You know, lately we were lucky enough, I mean, we have a lot of complaints on our platforms, and we're happy because someone posted a complaint on a bread.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that. Yes.
The person said, well, she went to buy the bread didn't have the expiring date, or, well, there were issues on the quality of the product. She wasn't sure whether the product was of quality. The person sent us the message, and of course, like I said, we cannot go in this shop to check. All we could do was to contact the Rwanda Standards Board and tell them, are you aware of such a situation? Luckily enough, and that is why I was very impressed, is that their public relations person took that complaint and said, well, I'm going to check it. Went and did his researches and probably contacted who he had to do. And 2 weeks, or I think some few days later, came back to us and said, I did the inspections. These are some of the things that happened, but these are some of the things that we're also working on. The fact that when people complain, there are institutions that take those complaints up and find solutions. This is what we're looking for. We are not looking for places just to complain. We want to complain and be sure that whatever we say, we have someone behind who will take it up. And that is actually where we have some issues. In terms of service delivery, someone goes to a hotel, complain about poor services in a hotel. All he does is tell us, we cannot go and inspect. So we tell Nayombi, we tell whoever is in charge. But if they don't do anything, then the complaint just stops there. It means that, in fact, there was no need raising the complaint. And that is why I think today, when we talk about consumers' protection, we need to find solutions to make sure that consumers really feel that they are protected. That if they have the impression that something is wrong, they can tell an institution that is able to find solutions for them. So I think that is where we have to reach now.
Solutions in this case would be what?
Whoever can do inspections, whoever can take sanctions. Well, probably not sanctions straight away, but at least take it up and go and check and make sure that if there are sanctions to be taken, because sometimes there are standards. You know, Dr. Mark talked about standards. Sometimes these service providers, they know the standards, they know what they're supposed to do, but, well, they do not always do them. So it is important that an institution checks, and when they realize that really they are not respecting the standards, then they be sanctioned so that they know that they should not take consumers or customers for granted.
For granted. Dr. Mark, before you jump in on what you just want to interject with, when we were starting, we spoke of ADECOR. That's the organization that is actually supposed to be protecting and creating awareness on, on consumer rights. And you mentioned that, you know, they do not have the resources. But if status quo remains, if we remain like this, if all constant or all factors remain constant, then where is the plight of these consumers? Because if this is the institution that's supposed to be helping them to be aware of their rights, to be able to protect their rights, to be able to play advocacy for them, and it is, you know, like its hands are tied, then why do we even need it in the first place? And what is the future of the consumers if these things remain like this?
Yes. Let me say this about the consumer associations. First, I think as a country that's building systems, we need to support this consumer association because for me, I see them as partners. Certainly, their weakness becomes a part of our weakness. We have to empower them. And as far as I know, the Ministry of Trade and Industry actually has tried to provide them some support. Obviously, because I don't work with this organization on a daily basis, I don't understand what change they have internally, but the reason why I say that they are probably resource stretched is because that's what I say. But certainly I do agree with you. If they are not empowered and they become strong, we will remain with a lot of work to do. However, we as a government we have got a role to play. I think that's what I should be addressing. But before I address that, let me say this. Let's expand a little bit on the issue of complaint, of complaining. Complaint is a healthy thing, it's a positive thing. And to me, it's a sign of choice. When people don't have a choice, they don't complain. You complain because you can choose. Let me just give you an example. I gave an example 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we were beginning this program of certification. No one knew about it. Actually, it was an uphill task to educate the businesses about the benefits in the business of certifying their products, because it creates competition, it creates confidence in the clients. 3 years later, my minister actually was telling me that, you know, the industry, the SMEs are complaining that your charges are high. Then I said to the minister, for me that's very healthy. At least now I know that you understand that certification is good for them. So then the next step now was to see how we can work out on the charge issue so that we encourage them to come for the program. Now, concerning what we do to make sure that the consumer rights are protected, we have got an array of programs within the standard board. What people understand usually, they understand standards. That's what they know. But when you look at the way we work, it's like a house. When you've got a house, you've got a foundation, you've got the pillars, then you've got a roof. So we see standards as the foundation of whatever we do. Now, the standards, then they provide the input into their services, for example, like testing, making sure the quality is okay. They provide the input into certification. Even the inspectors, when they're inspecting a product, they make sure that they are referring to the standard. Then certification, we have it as our roofing. In other words, if you build a house and you don't roof it, then it will start leaking. It's not good. Then our pillars, one of our pillars is actually what we call precision measurements, making sure that, for example, if you want to buy a kilo of bread or you want to buy a liter of fuel, it's a liter, it's not 950 mil. So by doing all that, actually, we are providing
protection.
Now, lastly, what I always tell people, Eugene, is that standards, actually, when they're working for you, you don't know they're working for you. All right? This house is not falling on us because standards are working. This seat we're sitting on is not actually collapsing because the standards are okay. We will complain when 1 in a billion of standards fails. When your brakes fail, that's when you complain.
But in the end, you see, it's a component, it's a
Yes,
unit.
yes.
And all these institutions have to work, you know, hand in hand, because if you have the standards, yes, everything is perfect. But when it comes to, you know, prices, you know, fluctuating in a very unexplainable manner, then that's where the problem comes in. And this is where probably most people are actually complaining and saying, why is this price like this, yet I feel it should have been like this based on the market, you know, situations and circumstances. And so where do people run to? I mean, what's the current situation?
Okay, well, for now, people run to us. I don't know whether with the Rwanda Standards Board, I don't know if people run to them, but for now, people run to us, and it is very, how do I say, very challenging, because, you know, we receive the complaints or the issues that people face, we post them. But you cannot imagine how it is hard on us just because we are able to post these complaints. I cannot tell you every day, you know, today, for instance, I met, oh, you guys posted something on our institution. And I'm like, it's not like me, you know. Consumers use our platforms to reach out to you, to tell you things that, but people until today, and that is, you know, Dr. Mark was saying that it's good to have complaints, but how many institutions are ready to accept complaints? How many of them actually thank us for being able to raise, you know, to bring these complaints to them? No, they rather blame us because we brought in the public some of the challenges that their customers face. So I think if we want to reach that level of standards that you're talking about, it's important that all these institutions understand that it's good for them to hear these complaints. If they don't hear them, they will not be able to improve on their services. And that is why I think the effort we also need to know, much as we're talking about consumers' rights, it's also important that these institutions that deal with consumers also understand that it is good to have complaints because they help them improve their services. There is one aspect that I also want to raise, is the fact that when we talk about consumers' rights, we also have the consumer himself to blame. To blame because sometimes they just accept whatever is given to them. Sometimes they will buy products that are not of quality, but they feel like if they complain, well, it makes it look like they are the ones who have problems. So
or perhaps they have complained and nothing has been done, and then they've given up.
So they keep quiet and they say, okay, now what is the need? Or I'm not going to say anything again. So I think it's important that as consumers, because we are all consumers, we have rights. We have many rights, you know, rights to have products of quality, rights to have right to knowledge. You know, this is one of the rights. It's an international right. Right to know products that is being given to us. If you buy products that do not have all these details on them, we should not buy them. And that is why probably with the Rwanda Standards Board, they also need to educate the population so that they understand these rights. Because again, if they do not know, they will not even be able to realize that things are of quality or not. So there are a lot of challenges, like I said, on the institutional level, but also on our level as consumers.
All right.
I think Sandri's made a very good point.
Yes, the good point has been made, but also a better one has been made, that you need to increase your level of awareness.
Yes. Exactly.
So why are you not doing that?
Exactly. That's what I really wanted to comment, what she's saying about creating more awareness. I want to admit that we could do more in terms of creating awareness. But as I said, you know, when you look at the journey that we've made over the past 15 years, no, actually 13 years, not 15 years, we've made a very good mileage, covered a good mileage in terms of creating awareness, but I believe that we still have a lot of work to do. And, but you see, when we talk of public relations, there's a misunderstanding. People still in Rwanda, people still believe that when you need a budget for public relations, it's for receiving the Director General's visitors and just making good PR for the leaders. But every institution has got some awareness to make. And so the awareness is unfortunately misunderstood. But I believe we have to put in a little bit more in terms of resources.
What could be stopping you?
But what we've done
from doing that more that you say you can do?
That's what I want to say.
Yes.
You see, sometimes you can actually be suffocated by the structures that you are working in.
So you're being suffocated?
No. That's what I want to say.
All right.
So over the past 5 years, actually we've made we've covered very good ground by reforming our institution, and we have been able to create a department for education and training, which we never had before. And when you create, you see, you can ask, when you need financial support, you have to indicate for what. So having created this department, we think we are really doing very well. So we've got people who are dedicated to do that. For example, over the past 3 years, this may sound small amount of money, but we put in over $500,000 just in education.
So today we can sit back and account for that money.
Absolutely.
And say that this is what it did and this is the repercussion for it.
Yes.
Did you do an exam with the awareness creation and
Let me
find out how many people are aware of what you were making them aware of?
Let me show you the measure. The measure is, as I said, about complaints, for example. When people are complaining that they are not getting this, it's because they have been educated. This is what you should expect. But when they get something different, then they complain. Of course, I don't have the statistics of the complaints we have received. And again, when we see the industry coming to us, demanding to improve their services, to improve their services. For example, they want their product to be certified, they want their product to be trusted. It's a very good measure that, that we are doing. We are making more people aware of their rights. Let me say, where do people run to? As Sandra was saying. Can I comment on that?
Very quickly, yes.
I think we are one of the institutions they run to. Actually, my office is like a clinic. You know, when you see people, when people have got issues, they go to see a doctor. People come, but fortunately, I don't have a long queue, so which is a good thing. But as you said, we can't do more. So what we've been done, what we have been doing as a government, we have actually reformed the National Standard Bureau. It's not a bureau anymore, it's become a board. The reason being that we felt the way we were structured, we were inadequate. We were not meeting this issue of making sure that we enforce the standards. And so what the government is doing now, very soon, I think in the next financial year, beginning in July 2016, we should be having a new agency, which will be an offshoot from the Rwanda Standards Board.
All right. So that is what you meant by saying
yes.
Some structures of institutions can suffocate
can
you.
suffocate.
And so for now you're feeling more relieved and you're able to
yes.
deliver more.
So by creating this new institution,
yes.
which actually will be called RICA, standing for Rwanda Inspectorate and Competition Authority.
Yes.
Obviously, when you've got an institution dedicated for that service, it's going to deliver much better than an institution that had other responsibilities.
I'm hoping that we're able to do impact assessment analysis of these projects so that we are able to also be accountable to the taxpayers and the people who, take time to do these particular measures. Like you said, you spent a lot of money to create awareness. But today, if Sandra is still saying that they need you to do more, then it raises some questions on how much of impact was that particular process, in terms of what is expected out of it. When we come back, we'll push the conversation even forward. And of course, we'll be asking ourselves, then, should institutions like ADECOR, if they're not able to perform, if they're not able to deliver, what do we do in order to ensure that they are also delivering and ensuring that they're also performing to the core? So talk to us on our online social media platforms. That is at Debate 411. You can use the hashtag Debate411, or you can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe. We're coming back to read more of your feedback after the break. Stay with us.
Debate 411 is proudly brought to you by Mount Kenya University School of Journalism. Success in journalism starts here. Enroll for Master of Arts in Communication and Mass Media, Bachelor of Arts in Mass Media and Communication, Diploma in Journalism. Take advantage of fees reduction and modularized programs in line with Rwanda National Qualification Framework. Call 0787 05 2363 or 0788 9791 13 or 0728 551199 or visit our website www.mku.ac.ke. Good news from the largest private university in the East Africa region, Mount Kenya University. We have reduced fees for undergraduates who want to pursue courses in business, travel and tourism, information sciences or IT, and social science related programs. We are also giving our alumni and bachelor students wishing to pursue master's programs a 10% fees discount. Our programs are modularized in line with Rwanda National Qualifications Framework. Mount Kenya University. My university, my pride, my future. My affordable education.
When we're talking about real reforms, yes, we are also being realistic. Baungaho, get out of here.
Debate 411 is not just about starting conversations.
Sometimes it's important to criticize, but as a Rwandan, because that's my starting point,
yes,
I also feel that when I criticize, I should point to a way out.
But creating a platform where those conversations can be moved forward.
And then I look at the man and I say, wait a minute, we have badges here, we're on duty. What's going on? I said, get out of here.
We had a bad past, which some people have. We have a very good present.
The few guys who are there to produce have never been broadcasting anything and get paid for it.
They want to copy concepts that have already been done somewhere else and just flip it into Kinyarwanda, and they call it local.
It's about accountability.
It's not about what the government does only. It's also about the response that people give. This environment is about how people take advantage of it.
It gets up close and personal.
Arnold is coming to watch a match of football in halftime. How will he going to report that match?
Debate 411 with me, Eugene Anangwe, at these times on Rwanda Television.
This is an EA production.
Debate 411 is proudly brought to you by Mount Kenya University School of Journalism. Success in journalism starts here. Mount Kenya University. My university, my pride, my future, my affordable education.
Right, thank you so much for making time to be with us on Debate 411. Tonight we're talking about the issue of consumer rights, awareness and protection. How much of your rights do you know as a consumer? And do you feel protected, or you feel you're on your own when it comes to access to services and products as a Rwandan or as a consumer out there? Talk to us and share with us your thoughts on how best you as a consumer can be protected and made aware of your rights. All right, so what you're doing, you're just tweeting us at Debate411. The hashtag is the one on your screen right now. That is hashtag Debate411. You can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe or tweet at Debate411. We also having our panelists right here, and they're also on social media platforms. You can as well follow and tweet them. We have at Mark Bagabe or you can as well tweet at Rwanda Standards if you have any question that you want answered concerning the issues that we're talking about right here. We also have Sandra Idosu, and she's at Sandra Paintings or at the Service Mag. So talk to us. Let me just read some of the comments that have been coming through in a very short while that we have been on air. We have at Bosco Nyemazi, who says organizations should have customer relations management approaches to make sure customer rights and standards are maintained. This is what he says. There's another one here which comes from my 250 tweets and says, how many institutions are ready to face complaints and challenges that consumers face? Are they ready to hear them? This is a question that goes out there. Dr. Mark, you represent a big institution in this country. How can you be able to make or give an assurance out there that your institution is ready? Because there's an assumption out there that most institutions are not really ready to listen when it comes to consumer issues.
I think it would depend maybe on the institution. If the institution that I lead was allergic to complaining, then it would be inactive, actually would be ineffective. Actually, many times we have been able to even influence policy through the complaints that we receive.
So what would you advise or suggest should be done to institutions that are allergic to complaints?
Then they are stifling their growth. Complaints, they help you to recheck yourself. They are a very good indicator how your service is perceived by the public. So complaining is good. It's a good thing.
I think what would you want done then
again,
for such institutions?
There are some institutions here, public institutions, that are doing very well in terms of responding to customers' complaints. We all hear a lot about immigration. Immigration, we all see the example we want many of the institutions here to be like. And I think if an institution like immigration is able to respond, be available every time, it means that other institutions can do if they decide, if they give themselves means and tools to respond. And I think there are quite a number of institutions that are coming on board. You know, WASAC, we all complain about them because we don't have water and all that. But I think they're trying hard at least to respond. I think for now, that is what we need to know. The fact that we want institutions having teams of people who are able to give information, who are able to say, yes, it is true, we have an issue here, we are going to work on them. I think that is where we have to start. And if you have institutions that take it personal because there are complaints, they feel that they were attacked. You know, like I said earlier on, the number of institutions that would complain and say, why did you publish that story on us? It's unbelievable. And that is why I think it's important we understand that if public institutions, some of them are doing well, the private actually should follow, should actually lead.
Should take the lead.
Actually, Eugene, the culture in Rwanda, I find that the culture here is such that complaining is perceived as a bad thing.
But we've had this all the time.
Yes.
Come on, tell me something different. What do we do then? How do we deal with it?
I think this is what we're doing. Really, we have to educate people. Trying to complaining is healthy. That's the only way people will know what your rights are. Otherwise, if, for example, you go and I have received complaints from, or information from even government ministers, from, from the private sector. Someone told me I bought yogurt and my kid, after consuming it, was taken to hospital. So when, for example, I receive such a kind of information, then it's an opportunity for me to review that particular business and I see how it is actually performing. A few days ago, I was dealing with a complaint from one of the government officials that a product they had bought was not meeting the expectations. So when we receive complaints, in our case, we view it as a good thing. So I think every institution in government should see complaining as a health check, as an opportunity to improve.
But you see, someone might argue,
and therefore it would be a break from the culture of
keeping quiet,
or keeping quiet, trying to pretend to feel good,
that everything is fine. But in the end, when we keep telling people complaining is good, we seem to be not dealing with the root cause. I mean, someone else might say, but why do we want to wait for people to complain when we can avoid that complaint in terms of doing things the right way,
but
keeping checks and balances?
Again, in terms of services, you cannot, of course, you would aim at excellence. You really want to give the best services, but there's no way you would be able every day to offer 100% quality. So complaints, no matter how good your institution is or how well your standards are set, complaints might come. So there's nothing wrong actually in having the complaints. But what is wrong is not having systems that deal with those complaints,
and
you know. So complaints, it's right. You know, one of the complaints, for instance, I got on our Twitter handle just before coming because I posted that I was coming on your show. Someone said, yesterday I received 200 SMSs from one of these telecoms. How come we've been complaining to RURA and RURA is not taking any action? What can I do as Service Mag? All I can say is just bring it up. Let at least RURA hear this complaint.
If RURA is watching and they would like to know this telecom,
well, I hope.
Would you say it?
No, but I think every time we tag them, they never respond anyway. So, well,
maybe if you mention, they will respond today.
Okay, I hope tomorrow I'll tell you.
Can you say it?
Yeah, well, RURA, somewhat, they know. Every day we tag them on them. So they know that there are complaints about customers not being happy of receiving 100 SMSs per day. So they know.
Unsolicited SMSs.
Yeah.
Eugene, there's a country in the West, you know, a country called Britain. I used to hear that they are a complaining people. But actually, they told me that the reason that out of their complaining, they are never satisfied with the quality of the product because they always want to reach a high level of perfection. So complaining is good, but let me say this, adding to what Sandra was saying about systems, but also I think it would be detrimental, would be dangerous if the same complaint kept coming and it was not solved. But complaints will never end. Actually, complaints can be a sign that actually something is happening. But it will be dangerous if people complain.
The cycle is the same.
Exactly.
The same particular issue is being talked about. Let's just read a comment from Rika Rwigamba, friend of Debate 411. Thank you so much for always tweeting. And she says, institution being set is good. Rika, actually, you mentioned that. And she laughs after that particular word. But are consumers aware of what it will do? You know, sometimes some of these things they just come up as breaking news to some of us, and we don't even are aware that they were being prepared.
Well, well, I'm not sure if we can start make an advert of an institution that is not existing. The law is in process. We expect the law to be gazetted before June this year. And I do believe that it will not be difficult for it to perform its functions because to be building on a nucleus of existing functions that we are doing.
So we won't be replicating
No. It will just be trying to give some more space and more resources. And I think to try and decouple what we are doing today that's in conflict with what an institution would do. For example, we develop standards. At the same time, we've been enforcing them. So there's there a conflict of interest. And therefore, by decoupling them, not only will it make standard enforcement work more progressive, but also it will also avoid a conflict of interest between standard development and standards enforcement. So therefore, making the citizens aware of this service, I think, to be very easy.
Yes. But the concern here is, why I'm asking you these questions is because some consumers out there, or some people who end up being the recipients of these big plans that we create as government institutions or as private bodies, wonder, okay, who told you we want that? Who told you that that is the solution to our problems? Because someone somewhere might also be asking, when they were creating a decor, who told you it will solve our problems? Some monies were put in there, some investment was put in there, but today the same consumers are saying, we don't even know about you. We don't even know what you do for us. We feel like you're not doing anything. So in the end, the involvement of the consumers in this decision so that we have proper institutions that will serve the rightful purpose is the concern here, I think. What
actually, Eugene, it's a product of of these complaints that you're talking about, if we find that our customers, our clients, are not satisfied with the service we're providing,
yes,
then it informs the policy making. And therefore, it's actually a product of what we get from the consumers. And also, it's a product of the international best practice, what we see being done internationally. And we know when we benchmark, we know it has worked. And also from what we are getting from our citizens, then we know that this is what we have to do to make sure that we reach as many people as possible. So in a way they have, it's not of course a referendum like we had a couple of months ago, but from the very interactions we have with our citizens, then that's why we get this kind of a policy decision that we have to move this in particular direction for their own good.
Sandra, does that concern you, the involvement of people who are affected by these things when we are coming up with such kind of initiatives?
In fact, me as a consumer, all I want is a platform where I can complain to and where I can find a solution. Whether it comes through whatever, you know, but as a consumer, that is what we're interested in. And I think sometimes we need simple mechanism for consumers. We don't necessarily need very huge, we need simple mechanism where someone who is in Changugu or whatever, who has a problem with the product that he's bought or with some of these services, I don't know, with the Rwanda Standards Board, are you also, do you work on standards for these service providers?
Actually, it's something I really wanted to say. Thank you for asking that question, Sandra. One of our big hit standards for 2015, as we were closing the year, was a standard on customer service, which we developed as a result of responding to RDB request. And if you ask anyone from RDB in that department would know this is standard. We've actually provided some training. We had a big success with big international events, training hotels, making sure that they offer good customer service. You know, we had a Transform Africa in October. We had an Interpol meeting, and now we are having.
So that's how you're gauging your success.
Yes.
So you train service providers.
We train service providers, and actually they have reached a point now where they want to be certified. So that when you want to book a hotel in Rwanda, you can see on the website it is ISO certified. It's got ISO certification. So I think this is standard. It's really very important in terms of promoting customer care. We don't want in Rwanda together someone came and you asked for water and then you got a Fanta.
But the fact
doesn't
that
work well.
the fact that we seem to be concentrating our effort in customer service, someone might argue and say, like, we have concentrated our efforts there and we're now forgetting the actual service itself being delivered. You know, we're telling people, give it with a smile, but where is it? With these complaints that you say, some people saying that the electricity, the water, you know, some of them saying unsolicited messages and all that kind of a thing. Because it's important for us to now understand, where do we move from here? Where now we're saying, yes, complain and complaining is good, but in the end, how do we solve this problem of the recurring complaints that we keep seeing and we don't see the action?
Actually, let me tell you, Eugene, behind the smile, for me, from the standards world, I want not to see a smile, but we're smelling water that you're serving me. I want to make sure that behind the smile, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in the room where you are staying, everything is perfect. But as you were saying, we don't need recurrence of issues. And this is why we are reforming the institutions to make sure that they can respond. Respond in not only in terms of increasing numbers, but in terms of rapidity, in terms of, for example, this institution is going to be having branches, staff at the borders of Rwanda, making sure that products that are entering the country are as safe as they can be.
So that's the much you can do as Rwanda.
Oh, we can go beyond. Right. I'm sure we can go beyond.
Let me read a couple of tweets before we start, you know, giving our final remarks. We have one here from Bosco again, who says that Customers may forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel. We have Richard who says customer service and satisfaction should be embraced and implemented as a policy and standard because it's the engine of quality improvement. We have Jean-Claude Gaga here who says consider publishing periodic statistics on poor service complaints, ranking institutional response or lack of it. This is to the service man. Someone was also asking if you have a hotline, Rwanda Standards Board, for someone to directly...
3250.
3250 is the number.
There's a number.
If you call that, you won't be told the numero compose.
Oh, not at all. The number is operational Monday to Friday. I must admit we don't have the number on during the weekend.
Right. Someone here says, Nij Tejeka is saying that, hello, the rights of consumers are not observed. RSB needs to educate people how and where to bring claims. So that's the number you told them to take their complaints?
That's the number. And our website is, no, not our website actually. Our Twitter account is at Rwanda Standards. I'm sure if they go on our website, they can access them. That's where, and we respond in time. I think Sano did say that. We respond. We are supposed to be a standards body. We are supposed to set the standard for others. And therefore, if we didn't, really we would be failing our citizens.
Do you wish you could go beyond just your mandate and respond to even some of the things she says they are doing, but they are not being taken up seriously by the relevant institution? She said that there's a mobile institution.
Where we have got confines of operations. You know, it's always very important to keep within your boundaries.
Stick to your lanes.
Otherwise, it would end up underperforming.
Okay. Rika comes back and says, the Service Mag has helped promote the culture of complaining. Supporting such initiatives will bring more impact, plus follow-up with responses.
But there is something that Bosco said, but someone will forget what we've said, but will not
how you treated
forget how you made him feel.
Yes. How made them feel. That's very important, I think, for us, that our customers, our clients feel good. How they feel good. Not the way we speak so nicely, but the service they receive from us. And therefore, we have to try and work towards making them feel good. But the more they complain, they may complain because we have raised the expectations. So to me, that's a good thing. So as I said, we should avoid making sure that the client is complaining of the same thing all the time. If they come with the new ideas, they're ideas to make us improve.
As a consumer, if someone or if you kept complaining of the same thing,
then we fail
all the time, what would you want be done to that institution? Now I'm talking to you as a consumer. What would you want that institution being complained to over and over again, over the same situation? What would you recommend?
It's, you know, usually it's not the institution actually that that fails. I worked in an institution where I think a deputy was underperforming. This is about 10 years ago. And his boss decided they should remove the position of the structure. So when an institution is not performing, we have got over 6 million Rwandans, I think, from whom we can choose.
So you would recommend firing of the boss?
Fire the boss and
replace with someone else who's competent enough. Yes, but
the institution goes on.
Even if it is you?
Even if it is me,
yes. But that's why customers have to say it.
Yes. So what,
one of the
way
things
forward as we go, yes. As
one of the things we do as the Service Mag, as a magazine that promotes good service delivery, we put in place systems where each year we can actually ask our consumers to vote for their best service providers. I think it's also an opportunity to reward the good service providers and tell them, yes, throughout 2015, these are the institutions that gave us good services.
So reward mechanisms will
also
encourage
enforce
others.
Because when, for instance, each year these are the same like immigration, I'm sure some of these public institutions should be asking them, what exactly does immigration do to always get this positive feedback. So at least when we have these reward events, it makes others wanting to reach that level of service.
Super. In conclusion, we also have another tweet here that says, how close are we in establishing a fully fledged national quality system?
We are quite close. We are now in our third phase of establishing a fully fledged quality system. Our first phase was trying to create an institution. It never existed. Our second phase was to reform and create the different departments. Now our third phase, where we are now, which will be concluding around September 2017, is reaching what we call accreditation, getting international recognition of our different services. So, and I think when we've reached that point, we can confidently say that when you are selling a product outside Rwanda, within the region or beyond, or when you come to Rwanda, you want to access our services, then you are accessing services which are international accredited. So that's where we are, and I think we are quite close. Super. Of course, I didn't get time to go into the statistics of how we've grown, but if I showed that, you would see that our growth over the past 12 years has been really exponential.
All right. So thank you so much for making time on the program. And definitely this is a conversation we have to keep going on. So the key word here is complain.
Yes.
Keep complaining.
Use our platforms. Tell us. Vote online. Just
we
tell
like people complain as well.
So when people complain more, this is the medicine.
Yes.
In your opinion.
will link them up.
Actually, when they complain, they help us to improve.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Right. So it is definitely time for us to bring down the curtains to the program today. Thank you so much for always being with us and tweeting and sharing your thoughts with us. And of course, let's keep this conversation going online at Debate 411, at Eugene Nangwe, at Mark Bagabe, Rwanda Standards, at the Service Mag. Let's keep talking and of course ensure that in the end we have answers to some of the key questions that we have. We'll see you again next time, same place. My name as always is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye.
Debate 411 is proudly brought to you by Mount Kenya University School of Journalism. Success in journalism starts here. Enroll for Master of Arts in Communication and Mass Media, Bachelor of Arts in Mass Media and Communication, Diploma in Journalism. Take advantage of fees reduction and modularized programs in line with Rwanda National Qualification Framework. Call 0787 05 2363 or 0788 9791 13 or 0728 551199 or visit our website www.mku.ac.ke.